Na 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 assassin time. What?
Yep.
Hey guys, it's Ninja Misty and Ninja Andrew, and we're just hanging out here on Assassin's Creed. Woo! Because we're not the A team, that would be the Assassins. We're the B team, that's the Bussassins. This is Assassin's Creed. Unity.
Well, I know my thoughts on that, and it starts with a B as well.
Oh god. I'm gonna rescue him. I'm gonna... Oh, what happened? What happened?
I can't leave you alone for 2 seconds.
I know, right? Woot. So, Misty and I have been playing Assassin's Creed now for a little while, would you say? We've sort of played through the main storyline, and we still probably have some co-op missions and stuff to do, and lots...
Well, let me just show you the map. Yes, there's only, a handful of things that I need to accomplish.
There's a few chests still out there. Oh, God. But, we wanted to sort of, give you guys sort of a overview and impression, as well as just, being able to show off the game itself, because, I think, I've told this, and I've said this to Misty many times now, I think the best thing about this game is just how it looks. It frickin' looks beautiful. This is probably the best looking Assassin's Creed so far, and now that they've hinted that there's gonna be, another Assassin's Creed in Victorian London, kind of seems appropriate that this was maybe the first step towards that, because if this looks this good, I can't wait for anything else. But that's sort of getting off topic. Basically,
Well, don't worry, I was distracting them with my epic lock-picking skills.
That's right. What would you say that your, impressions were of this game, having now played it? And, what it was sold as, and what the delivery was?
Well, I know that we share the same opinion of what it was sold as, because what it was sold as was, hey, this is going to be a co-op Assassin's Creed that you can play with all your best buddies. And that's not exactly the case.
There's 4 characters on the front of the game box. They've been saying, oh, it's got 4-player co-op, but it's essentially, it's a small version Assassin's Creed game, very pared down, and then you get some co-op missions that you can go on after. So there's maybe if you pop up the map again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe 17 or 18 co-op type missions, and they're all of varying stuff.
Co-ops and heists.
And, that's cool and everything. There's a lot of good content there, and the missions are really fun, and, each sequence of a mission, you probably have to do quite a few things, and, kill quite a few people, and sneak around, but, I think the experience that we were really hoping for, was to actually be able to play Assassin's Creed, the storyline part, together, and it kind of seems weird to have this, game where it's you can play around in the world together, go and unlock your individual chests. Woo! Double tackle.
Don't try to steal my glory.
Oh god. If such a thing were even possible. But essentially, like, it's like it kind of just feels odd that you have this solo storyline that's separate that you can't play with your friend, that you have to like go and unlock stuff and unlock the world and all that stuff, and then you only have these few co-op missions, and then not all of them are even 4-player, some of them are 2-player, and even if you are playing with the other, like if you go and queue in with other random people, it's not the same type of experience that you would get playing an Assassin's Creed game together and going through like the development of the story, and you know, it's I don't know, you get the feeling of it from Arnaud and his story of like there's a cool, interesting story there, but the fact that that's not what you're sharing, you're just sharing these little side missions, and it's like it kind of feels hollow to me, at least. You know what I mean? Like, you offer the game up for us to play, and you know what I mean, but we can't enjoy it together. You know? So it just leads to a situation where it's like Misty and I bought this game to play together, and we actually ended up spending most of our time having to play it by ourselves, not really enjoying being able to play together, enjoying the storyline and enjoying the game for what it was, but at the same time it's like we wanted to play it together. That was the whole point. And it's like the fact that they decided not to make the entire game co-op is just really confusing, and I hope that they change that in the future. Yeah.
Well, it's just the way it was presented.
Yeah.
You know, you were fully expecting that this was going to be... And it's cool to be able to have some stuff that we can do together, which is, you know, something that we haven't seen in the past. Having co-op missions or, you know, alerts that you kind of queue into with 2 to 4 people.
Yeah.
But they gave kind of a different impression.
Like, I wish it...
At least from a marketing standpoint.
I wish it was like the story of the Assassin Brotherhood and of the brothers and sisters of the Assassins. You know what I mean? Like, instead of it just being like, oh, this is going to be another story about one person, and, you know, all the cutscenes and everything is going to be about this one dude, instead of it being like, I don't know, like have a band of characters that we can select from, or allow us to make our own character or something. You know what I mean?
I'm looking for the game where they allow you to customize your own assassin.
Yes. You know? Like, fully. Not just like, oh, I'm gonna decide what pieces I want to wear based on what, like, stats those pieces have, and then I'm gonna look whatever ridiculous way I end up looking just because I need those stats. And oh, well, you want to have, you know, good melee attack? Well, you have to wear this ridiculous looking piece of equipment in order to have it. And it's like, no. You know, like, give us, like, style options and armor options that are separate from each other so that we can make ourselves look however we want, but then at the same time have the armor upgraded the way that we want it to as well, you know?
Well, I want to see the full character customization where I choose my avatar.
Yeah.
I get to kind of go the full...
Even like in the previous games, like when you had multiplayer, there were like a few different characters you could select from. You know what I mean? And like when you have your assassin brothers in like even in the companion app for this game that you can get on like Android and iPhone, I would assume as well. You have like a variety of characters. There's like a colorful cast, but then every time they go into the game, it's like, we need to tell a story from one specific perspective, and you know, have these specific things happen so that we can make you feel something, you know?
This is a different feeling, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
In some ways, I liked that because it felt more approachable to me on one level. But in other ways, it felt a little simpler.
That's what I would definitely say, is that, like, the delivery on, like, my favorite Assassin's Creeds have always been the 2 and the sequels to that game, and I think that the delivery in probably Brotherhood is probably the best overall of the games, because it's like, there's just so much that you have to do, and so much that you have to, like, pay attention to, and, like, there's so much that feels like it's missing from this game. Like, there's no, like, there are some locations that you have to purchase, but there's no, like, real, like, you used to have your estate, and you had to upgrade your estate. There's a building, you have, like, the cafe.
The theater, and you can upgrade it, but it's not quite to the level of, like, upgrading your estate. Even in the last Assassin's Creed, where you had, like, the plantation, almost.
Or that was 3, but yeah. Wasn't it?
Oh, that was 3, yeah. It wasn't Black Flag.
Yeah, no?
Yeah,
so, like,
I don't know Black Flag because I haven't played.
We're gonna play it together. Woot! But just also, like, in combat in this game, or there's no, like, groups of, like, women that you can hide in or call upon, or, like, groups of thieves that you can call upon for help, or groups of mercenaries, and I felt like that was a major missing element from this. The combat itself, I would say that Arno is probably, like, a third of the assassin that Ezio is, because, like, by the time you're finished leveling up, or, like, by the time you finish the game with Ezio and you have all of your abilities and weapons and all that stuff, like, if you guys remember the training simulator from, what's it called? From Brotherhood, where you had to go in and you there was, like, a feat for killing 25 enemies in a row without being hit. And Ezio could totally do that, like, no problem. Like, once you learn the system, you could, like, murk people with Ezio. Arno is kind of like the derpy assassin. He can do some stuff. He can swing his sword around, but he kind of sucks. He, like, doesn't have anywhere near the number of abilities or combat stances or weapons and finishes. Like, he doesn't even have a dual assassin blade. He has this phantom blade that he can shoot guys with, but it's...
Well, also, by the end of it, you're not even an assassin. So...
Yeah, like, that's, like, another major confusing thing is the storyline in this game. It's just, like... Would you say that the storyline was ultimately, like, very predictable and kind of left you, like... At the end, it was, like, kind of like, what was the point of all of that? You know?
I think you know my stance on that, because while we were playing it, I was predicting...
Yes, exactly.
with accuracy.
Yeah.
What was going to happen. Now, I did enjoy it, and I had a little bit of a different feeling than you did at the end of it. Like, I don't know, I got a little more attached to them than I think you did.
I can get that. The major fault for me was just that it was like, I didn't feel, I don't know, sort of that major connection to, you know, like, I didn't feel like Arno had, like, a major stake in the fight. Like, I always sort of felt like he was just sort of going along to get along, and, you know, he didn't really, like, it wasn't like he was on a quest to do something, or this was sort of like not the Assassin's Creed where you're, like, being a boss and getting revenge and doing stuff. This is the Assassin's Creed of, like, you know, I'm gonna do what I'm told, you know, like, I'm just gonna go along, and then eventually, like, he does that, but he's still trying to, like, do his own thing a little bit. But it's just sort of like, I don't know, so many people in his life die, and you just sort of don't really feel like there's any sort of connection to that. And then in addition to everything, I felt like the storyline itself sort of completely ignores the French Revolution and goes for this romance / intrigue, mystery kind of thing. And it's like, you know, that's cool, like, I get it, you're in Paris, you know, you want to have something but I felt like it was like, this is Arno's story, and it's all about Arno and him being, to pardon the phrase, but him being butthurt. You know what I mean? And it's like...
Well, I think you get the bigger picture of the revolution through all the side missions and through the co-op.
And the co-op. And that's really cool.
And I think that's intentional.
That's really cool, but like, I wish that it had been more of a, like, I don't know, that you were leading the revolution, or like part of the, you know, like in the previous games you had like characters that were like more, I don't know, subversive elements, and in this game it felt kind of like, I don't know, you were very clandestine in your activities for most of it, because you have the, you know, the backing of the assassins, until, as Misty says, by the end of this game, you're no longer assassin, and they quote-unquote kick you out of the league, or, you know what I mean, but they don't kill you. They just, like, they kick you out, they let you keep all of your gear, and they're like, you're no longer an assassin. But you then go on to continue your adventure by yourself and do it by yourself, and like spoiler alert in case nobody's figured that out already, is that like the final message of the game is like, oh, you have to rely on yourself, it's all up to you, you know what I mean, you can't rely on, and it's like, you know, it's cool and everything, but I don't know where they're going, yeah, you know, with this particular line of storytelling, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out with the DLCs. It'll be interesting to see what path they take with the next game. I will say also that I did really like the World War II sequences. Yes, there's like a matrix that you go into that's really cool. At various points throughout the storyline, and it's sort of... Yes, where's our Assassin's Creed World War II? Yes, see, that's something. But that makes you excited for the possibility of it somewhere, and I hope they do it well. Right. You know? You know, just a suggestion to the makers of Assassin's Creed, if you're looking to do a good World War II Assassin's Creed game, go and look at The Saboteur. Came out quite a few years ago, but really amazing World War II game that didn't get enough credit in its time. But that's just a subject for another day. But with all that being said, it still was an enjoyable game to play through. It was challenging where it needed to be challenging. Like in some of the higher level missions. Look at the city, look at the number of people, the variety, you know. I did like the fact that you could change the language of the game to be in actual French instead of having British people reading everything, which kind of felt odd to me, but it wouldn't always put the subtitles up on the screen, so I had difficulty with that, and I eventually had to change it back. So I wish that there was some sort of way that they could just, you know, if there's going to be people saying stuff in French, and I have English subtitles on so that I can understand the game, then I would like to have those subtitles always up for what's being said. So I guess basically what we're trying to say is that we were a little bit confused by the direction that they took in this game, but there are some cool elements that you get to play through, and we're anxiously awaiting the future of Assassin's Creed. Yes. Now, one thing that I would say before we go is that this game took a lot of flack when it came out as being like unfinished and blah blah blah, and like, okay, I would give this game flack for being not as good as the other Assassin's Creed games, not as well developed, not as much like stuff to do, and not like as cool a character at the end of the game. But as far as like visual glitches in this game, was there anything that you saw? Well, there were a few. Yeah. But honestly, it was so minor. Nothing like game-breaking or like life-altering, or, you know what I mean? Like, two experiences I had was one, I was jumping over a table and I got suspended animation. I was just stuck. And I fell through the map a couple times, you know.
The other, I was jumping into the hay cart and jumped into oblivion.
You know?
And then I saw a couple of people kind of hovering above the ground. I saw a couple of people waist deep in the earth walking along.
Now, see, like, visual glitches like that, like, people complain about that stuff, but, like, I really think that, like, they are appropriate. They make sense to have in a world like this, because this is supposed to be a computer simulation, right? And, like, we played Saints Row 4, and they did an amazing job of having just weird, random glitches going on, and it made perfect sense because you're in the simulation. You know what I mean? So it's just like, to some degree, I think that having weird, you know, unintentional glitches in the game, you know what I mean? Like, to me it adds like a level of humor and variety that you, like, if you're just going to do everything so straight-laced that it's like, it has to look perfect. Nothing can be out of place. Everything has to be exactly working the way that it was intended. Kind of gets boring to a degree, where it's like, if you have a world where it's like, you know, people are going to do random stuff and it's going to be hilarious, you know what I mean? Like, having some guy, like, saying statements like, you know, what's going on, or how's the weather, and he has somebody standing on his head, you know, like, that's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they should just leave stuff like that alone. Even, like, the weird, like, horrendous face glitch. It's like, man, it just, to me, that adds something to the game. It's not a detracting factor, you know? So, I don't know. I just think that people should relax a little bit when it comes to stuff like that. If it's, like, funny. You know what I mean? If it's game-breaking, okay, I understand. You know, you obviously don't want to, you know what I mean, do something that's gonna, like, you know, ruin people's time, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
And, like, I guess, like, were there any other, like, favorite points or things that stood out in the game to you? Like...
Well, I think that they missed an opportunity to have Elise be a playable character alongside Arno.
Yep.
That's what I would have liked to have seen.
And for her character to sort of not be used as just like this, I don't know, sort of token female character at the end of the game. It's like, you know, it just felt like they didn't, like, what, she's just gonna go and throw it all away, and that's it, you know, like, I don't know. It didn't seem like they paid her character much respect. Now, I know that she's probably based on somebody historical who probably did die during the revolution or something, so that's what they're alluding to with that, but it's like...
And this review is full of all kinds of spoilers.
Yeah. But, you know, it didn't feel, I don't know, like...
I would have just liked to have seen them fight alongside
each other.
One another.
Yeah, every time...
I think that would have been...
Every time you go to do a mission with her and she's like, I have to go and take care of something. I have to go do my hair. You know what I mean? It's like, I have to go and be somewhere completely different because this was probably supposed to be co-op, but now it's not. You know what I mean?
Well, see, and that would have been the great thing, is even if you did split off and kind of have your own little solo experience, but it's still under the umbrella of a co-op game.
Right.
It's kind of like when you play some of the Resident Evil co-op games and you're like, oh yeah, the big spider-filled zombie tunnel, well, I'll be right back because I'm going to do this part.
You know?
And you go do that thing over there.
Or it, like, closes the doors behind each of you, or forcibly splits you up, and it's like, I would have liked to see, like, the way that they did the co-op missions in this game is fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, there are plenty of things where it's like, oh, go and take out the two targets, and it's like, it's not specifically stated, and I wish that it was, but it's like, I wish that it would like give one of the targets to each of us, and each of us would go and do that one target, and then meet back up again after to go and do the final battle or sneak mission or whatever. But you know, the flow of it felt appropriate. They just need to do better messaging about, like, you know, who to go for and what mission is yours specifically. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I don't know, like, I would like to see it done as sort of like a story of, like take, like, 4 characters and make them, like, friends, right? You know, drinking buddies at the bar kind of deal, and, like, have them be witnesses to something that, like, they know that they are the only ones that can do anything to fix the problem, so they sort of start their own brotherhood, you know what I mean? And it's, like, have them research the stories of the ancient assassins or something like that, you know? No, they don't like me.
They don't.
Yeah. One thing I did like in this game was that you can instantly blend with crowds just by walking into them. You don't have to find, like, a group, quote-unquote, of 3 people that are walking around that you have to, like, phase in with. It's, like, more free flow, which I thought was really well done. Like, this game does do some things very well, you know? It's just... It feels like it's like a quarter of a regular Assassin's Creed game. Aside from the fact that the city is full and well developed, you know?
Yes, and you can fast travel. As you go through, you unlock different kind of like little, I guess you'd call them nightclubs or theater spots, bars, taverns, and you can fast travel between those. And then you can take your little carriage and go to Versailles, which is really beautiful.
You know?
But you can see here, I mean, it's really a large
map. Yeah, I would say, like, it's comparable in size to the maps that we've seen in previous games. Oh, no.
How did that happen? I'm looking at my map and somebody's killing me? I thought you were supposed to protect me.
I was trying.
Did you bring that horror upon me?
Assassin.
Uh-huh. I was there minding my own business, looking at the map, and the next thing I'm dead.
I assassinated them all.
Including me.
That's right. BT.
Well, and another thing, when you were talking a moment ago about people complaining about kind of the rough launch of Unity, Ubisoft's really done something cool. They're going to give you a free DLC for the game, and they're also going to give you a free game.
Yeah.
You can look that up for the list. I know there was like Far Cry 4, there was Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, I think Ratchet and Clank, and then there were maybe 2 or 3 others that you could choose from. So I think that shows that they're a company that's at least sensitive to people's complaints instead of saying, go get bent.
Or like where it is what it is. I do agree with that because, like, I personally, for what the game is, I'm not like offended by it or feel like, you know what I mean, that it's like, oh, you know what I mean, like this. It still delivers an experience that's close to, and we had fun playing this, and it was enjoyable, but it just sort of missed the mark a little bit on a lot of stuff. And that, I think, is a greater sin than any of the launch issues. I think that, you know, it's nice of them to offer up something like that, given that really, as far as the game is in itself, it's pretty dang solid. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, they obviously spent a lot of time decorating the city to make it look as realistic as possible, and I think that they delivered. I think that this is the best looking environment, like, just natural. It looks like it's believable, you know what I mean, compared to some of the previous Assassin's Creed games where it felt like everything was, you know, rigid, like, you know, you always knew where the townsfolk were going to be walking because they just walk in circles around each block. You know what I mean? This feels more organic and, like, just you transition so quickly from like, oh, I'm in the cities to the slums to sort of like, you know, more rural. Okay. Woot.
Well, I didn't get credit for that. Oh yeah, I did.
Beset.
Well, the other thing is, I think that the main story felt watered down because they had the co-op stuff in here.
Yeah.
So I think they're wanting you to really look at it through the scope of the entirety of the game, where you kind of play through that. I played through it and I was kind of like, well, that's it? Yeah, it's over?
Yeah,
well, dang it.
Yeah.
It left me wanting more.
Which is great, you know what I mean?
Of the single player. Like, I'm looking forward to the DLCs because I'm looking forward to the direction that it takes. But I definitely felt that with the single player. It was kind of like, well, it's over?
And it felt like the story didn't even have enough time to develop, where it's like, even with like Assassin's Creed 2, you felt like the story had some time, like you felt like you were connecting with what was going on, and you know what I mean, like more investigating what was going on, like you were trying to solve the mysteries of like, okay, who are the ringleaders of this group that's out to get me, and you know, how do I take them down and all that stuff. And where this game sort of felt very rushed through the story, where you almost didn't have any, I don't know, explanation as to like some of the motivations for stuff, and I don't know, you know?
Well, and with all of that being said, it's...
Like, I came into this game with very little knowledge of the French Revolution, and I'll say after having played through the storyline that I still have very little knowledge of the French Revolution. You know what I mean? Other than... You
haven't played all the side missions, to be fair, and all the co-op, and you know what I mean, where I think you get a broader picture of the story.
Right. But like, that's like the side stories and stuff. I didn't really get like a sort of, you know, meaty chunk of like, this is what the revolution is about, and this is what it, you know what I mean? I wasn't participating in it, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, it's like a backdrop that I'm playing in, and there's stuff going on there. You know what I mean? Where I feel like, look at this playground. It's beautiful. So much potential. You know what I mean? But I guess the fun is what we make of it.
Sure.
So, I guess that's been our review?
I think so. I mean, I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think it's actually a good game if you're just getting started with the Assassin's Creed franchise, because I think it's easier to get an idea of what's happening. And also, if you do have a friend, like I do, you can come into the sandbox mode, and maybe your friend is more experienced with Assassin's Creed games, and they can give you an idea of how the game mechanics work.
How things work, you know? And I would just like to see them develop this further in upcoming games, have, like, full-on co-op, and then, like, bring back all of the elements that we had in the previous games for, like, a sort of, like, think of, like, the All-Stars edition of Assassin's Creed, where it's like, we're going to take the best things from all of the previous games and combine them somehow magically into the ultimate game. You know? I think that would be the best way to go.
Well, it's like, if they're going to Victorian London, I hope that I'll be able to have my friends come in and run around Victorian London with me. I'll be disappointed if I have that ability here and then it's stripped away from me in the next game.
Exactly. And, like, I want to see Jack the Ripper and lots of other fun stuff in Victorian London.
Sure.
Verily. Let's help out the peoples. You want to give the beggar some monies?
Well, I see you killing people.
Well, I didn't want him to kill the innocent civilian, so I felt like it would be a good deed to do. Do you want to give the beggar some change? Oh, and we'll end it there. Oh, apparently I've started war with the French.
Oh, well, I'll just let you take care of that.
Oh, I missed. You want to get him?
Oh, no, you got him. Oh,
okay.
wait. Oh, no, you didn't get him.
Right. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so we really ended on that charitable note while I loot the dying soldier.
That's right.
I'm just gonna get away from whatever awful thing I'm doing. I can't climb up here.
And that is how we are ninja assassins.
Oh, we can't even get to the top of that building.
That's crazy.
Booern.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this and found it enlightening and informational and entertaining. Woot.
And check it out. I mean, there's also, like Ninja Andrew was talking about, the app, which allows you to do missions on your phone, which unlocks chests and rewards in-game. They've got a cool little system there. So I think it's a multi-platform experience.
Yes.
That they've created for you. And, yeah, it's definitely...
And there's going to be DLC coming out, which is going to add on some sort of, like, companion missions or, like, co-op sort of competitive kind of thing, which could be interesting. So we're going to sort of keep our eyes on that and maybe bring you something on that when it comes out.
Definitely. So check it out, guys. You can find out more information about the promotions that Ubisoft is putting out there for their rough launch. And join us next time for more epic adventures on DorkNinjaGaming. Bye.